Hello, everyone. I'm Susanne Slater. I'm the president and CEO of Habitat DC Nova, and I'm very pleased today to be joining all of you for a Giving Tuesday discussion about one of our key projects that has many amazing characteristics, which we'll talk about. And we will have it'll be a conversation between Habitat and Homestrech. And we were going to go deep into, as I said, one of our projects called the Glebe View Townhouse project. But first, I want to start by giving you a quick update about a few Habitat projects as we near the end of the year. In 2024, Habitat DC Nova completed 10 construction homes, 8 as part of our Skyland townhomes in DC, and 2 Northern Virginia rehabs. 9 of these homes are under contract with future Habitat homeowners. We couldn't have done this without you, and we're excited to welcome these families home. A quick rundown of our current pipeline and what we'll be working on next year includes 3 rehabs that are now under construction, 2 condos on Capitol Hill in DC, and 1 in Fairfax. And we've broken ground on our Reeves farmhouse redevelopment in Arlington, which converts into a home for adults with intellectual disabilities. In addition, we have 2 new major projects totaling 27 units. 1 in the city of Fairfax, which we're going to be talking about today, and that is 10 Glebe View Townhomes. As we look forward to 2025, we're pleased to share that we'll be celebrating our 35th anniversary next year, and so will Homestrech. So
Yes.
we're very happy to be joining Homestrech in this discussion. We both feel that we have long experience in all of this. There will be plenty of opportunities for engagement on the Habitat side, and I know on the Homestrech side, because they also have volunteers, but we will be having Women Build in the spring, Pride Build, and an interfaith campaign engaging houses of worship. We look forward to sharing more in the new year, and we hope you'll join us for all of these festivities. And now I'm pleased to invite our guests to join us for the Glebe View project discussion. I want to introduce today, we're joined by Barfonce Baldwin, the executive director of our nonprofit partner Homestrech, and Mike Spotts, Habitat's director of real estate development. And I'd like to turn to Barfonce first to introduce herself.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Barfonce Baldwin, serving as Executive Director of Homestrech, as you alluded to earlier. I've been with Homestrech just a little over a year, but I've been engaged in nonprofit executive leadership for about 25 years, serving at the intersections of gender-based violence, poverty, and disability. And what I've found throughout all of those intersections lies homelessness at the crux. And so this is a deeply meaningful conversation, not only to me, but to the Homestrech community and to all of our stakeholders. And again, I'm just so thrilled to be joining you all today. Happy anniversary as we go into our 35th year of service to the community, by the way. I mean, that's no small feat. That must mean that we're doing something right. So congratulations to you.
And we share the same sentiment with you. Let me turn now to Mike Spotts, our director of real estate development.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Spotts. As Susan just mentioned, I'm pleased to join everyone today to talk about our Glebe View Townhome at Fairfax Presbyterian Church project. Susan mentioned I'm our Director of Real Estate Development, and I'm responsible for managing our pipeline of new construction projects to serve low-income families working to achieve homeownership in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan region. We're very excited about the Glebe View project in particular. This is an innovative partnership, or the project itself is a result of an innovative partnership between Fairfax Presbyterian Church, Habitat DC Nova, Homemade National Capital Region, and Homestrech to provide 10 permanently affordable townhomes in the city of Fairfax. And it's this partnership structure that allows us to achieve this outcome in a comparatively high-cost neighborhood in what is overall a very high-cost region. First, this project came about because the church wanted to dedicate a portion of its land for a project, and they're doing so free of charge. This enables a permanent affordability structure operationalized through a ground lease, which I'll touch more on a little bit more later in the conversation, and which they will continue to own the land, while the eventual homeowners will be able to own the homes themselves that sit atop that land. Second, we are partnering with Homemade National Capital Region, which is an amazing nonprofit that connects other local nonprofits like Homestrech that are addressing some of the most critical and deep housing challenges in the market, with home building experts who donate a portion of their time, resources, and expertise to construction projects such as this. And for this project, we're thrilled to be working with Homemade builder Captain Dries Homes, who will be leading the process of doing the site work necessary to transform a portion of the church's parking lot into buildable lots for the townhomes. And from there, Habitat will build the 10 homes using its volunteer build model, and 8 of those homes will be sold through our standard affordable home ownership program to households at or below 80% AMI. And then 2 will be sold to Homestrech. Barfonce will talk more about that throughout this conversation.
Okay,
That will be going to meet their mission.
Right, that's a perfect moment for us to turn to Barfonce to talk a little more about the mission of Homestrech.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So we empower families who are experiencing homelessness, but are motivated to build a new path forward. Their trajectory is to build sustainability, safety, not only for themselves and their children, but to break cycles of generational poverty. For us, it starts with a key to a home. We have 52 units within our portfolio, and we have a transitional housing program for about 2.5 years. Families are referred to Homestrech. We do a complete intake biopsychosocial assessment just to discover if this partnership is right, not only for Homestrech, but for the family. Once they enter our programming, that's when there's a swath of services that are provided for them. Our comprehensive approach is to ensure that we are partnering with the family to do one thing, and that is to break the cycle of generational poverty. So not only do we work with the head of household, but we work with the children. We have everything that is needed for the family to become stable and then to thrive. It starts with our Kidstretch, which is our state compliant preschool. We were just recognized as exceedingly high for the state of Virginia. I am pleased to say that we rank in the top 3% of preschools across the state. In addition to our preschool, we have on-site employment center. We have workforce development solutions, a credit counseling program, financial literacy. We have a housing navigator. So as soon as they come in, we ensure that they understand what it means to be a tenant, tenancy, leasing compliance, because for them to be with us, although it's 2.5 years, that's short term, right? We want to make sure that when they leave, that they can take the tools that they've garnered from Homestrech and then catapult themselves to their future. When individuals and families come to us, families typically have a mountain of debt. It ranges in the thousands. Their credit score is poor. They're either underemployed or unemployed. But when they leave us, their lives are transformed, and our success model shows that. When they leave, they have upwards of $8, $10, $12, $15,000 in their savings account. Their credit score has been improved by 120, 150 points. And oftentimes they're ready to afford market rate housing. And in the event that they're not, this is why partnerships like HomeAid and like Habitat are so beneficial to our community at large.
Thank you. I'd just like to clarify for the audience
Yeah.
and amplify one of the things that both Barfonce and Mike have said. The Glebe View project is 10 homes, and it's innovative in that it includes both 2 Homestrech rental homes and 8 Habitat home ownership homes
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
structure that Mike described. So it's innovative in many ways.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As Mike explained, the church has essentially allowed us to lease the land for a nominal fee, Fairfax Presbyterian. And so Homestrech will be essentially helping those 2 families through your
That's
program.
right.
And they
Yes.
will live alongside 8 homeowners, having people who have gone through our program, which stresses financial literacy as well. But we probably can benefit quite a bit from your incredible deep dive in terms of financial literacy, because people come to Habitat with quite a bit of debt and credit scores that need improvement, and people improve during the course of being in the program. So these 2 forms of living will be, these 2 housing structures will be
Right.
adjacent to each other. And as Mike said, they will be in a quite affluent neighborhood. Can we talk just a little bit, Mike, about the benefits of having all of this in one project, both the home ownership and the rental together? And Barfonce, also please chime in.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I think it's, we have a regional housing shortage and we need housing of all types. So I've always said that we need an all of the above strategy to meeting the full range of housing needs. And so it's pretty rare, especially on a relatively small project. 10 units is a decent sized project for Habitat, but in the scheme of a lot of what you see popping up across the region, it's a small to mid-sized project. So to have that opportunity to address multiple needs through one opportunity is exciting, because every family has their own needs and their own desires for what they need out of their housing situation. Some of the families that come to us, they are seeking that stability and longer term stability associated with home ownership. And then that opportunity for wealth creation. For many families, that rental housing is more appropriate for their needs because maybe they're maybe moving jobs, or their family is growing, or as the population ages, maybe their family is shrinking, or they have kids moving out of the house, and they need that flexibility that rental can provide. And rental housing provides that platform for a lot of layering on those opportunities for services that can promote economic mobility that Barfonce just described in such great detail. So to be able to meet these needs as part of one project is exciting. And that was made possible by the church bringing our respective nonprofits together in order to facilitate this mixed income, mixed tenure project.
Yeah, I would love to just add to that point if I can, because we are thinking that these 2 units would be designed for our client graduates. So they're families that are graduating from our programming. They are well suited for affordable housing. But I want us to just, if we could just put a pin in the social impact that we're providing, right? Like this affordable pathway that families can see gradual investment. They'll be living alongside homeowners and they can see what it's like to have to make investments into the home, to have to make repairs, to have to be fully responsible for a home on their own. We believe that the social impact is going to be really just empowering. It's going to really be pleasing not only to the family, but it's going to really set this course of breaking this cycle of generational poverty. It's like when they come to Homestretch, they don't look back, right? But if they have an opportunity to go from renting to home ownership by looking at the gradual investment, by looking at community building, affordable pathways, being in this mixed tenured community is really powerful. And I don't know if there are many communities in the Northern Virginia region that are doing that. So it really excites me to know that just two units is all it takes to really set the course for life-changing affirmation in this family's life.
Barfonce, one of the things that we're very pleased about with this project is that it's going to be affordable homes in a very affluent neighborhood that has many amenities, fabulous schools, just a lot of resources.
Yes.
That is not common with other affordable housing projects, because many times the only way, for example, Habitat can afford to build homes is in neighborhoods where the resources are not quite as affluent and not as rich in amenities. Can you talk a little bit about how important that's going to be in terms of the social impact on your families?
Oh, it's critical. It's critical just to know that when we're talking about the schools, for example, to know that a child who has been made ready through our early childhood learning program at Homestretch, they've been made ready. They are on the same grade level as their peers. They go into an affluent community. They go to one of the best schools in not only the region, but perhaps the country. Really is satisfying to know that we are partnering with this family to set this course on what I'm calling social impact, right? So it's bigger than just activities and then outcomes. We're looking at impact and then future impact. How the work that we're doing today, how is it going to set the course of the family, not for next year or next 5 years, but 10 and 20 years down the line? I think the answer to that question will be really profound for us in our learning.
Mike, do you want to comment a little bit about the trend that the thinking on affordable housing is constantly changing, because it's an ongoing problem that we certainly haven't solved. And one of the trends now is for organizations such as ourselves to try to seek out projects in more affluent areas. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about all of that and how we're doing everything we can to make sure the kinds of things that Barfonce has just described are available to our homeowners?
Sure, and that's a very important issue in the broader field that's been subject of a lot of conversation and debate for the last 100 years or so, much before there was an affordable housing industry, but especially in the last decade or so, as there's been a lot of conversation around the issue of fair housing and how do we overcome some of the structural barriers to socioeconomic integration throughout the region, which had a lot of the characteristic experiences of all metropolitan areas across the country, with racial discrimination and differences in resources that went to different communities. So what I like to talk about is the both and approach to fair housing. How do we make sure that we're moving the needle towards greater integration and making every community a well-resourced community that is open to people of all races, ethnicities, religions, incomes, etc. And the way we do that is through this both and approach of doing the hard work and investing in communities that have historically been under-resourced and experienced discrimination and disinvestment. And we do that at Habitat through our projects throughout the region in many different neighborhoods, and working to advance home ownership and wealth creation and improve the housing stock in those neighborhoods. It's very challenging to do projects in that context. But it's also very challenging to build projects in well-resourced neighborhoods, in part because of the barriers to entry, which are so high. In the most obvious example of that being the cost of land in these areas that are already well-resourced. So that's where partnerships with faith institutions like the Fairfax Presbyterian Church can be so beneficial. It would be very difficult to find a site and be able to compete with market rate developers to build 10 townhomes in a neighborhood like the one in which we're building, the Glebe View Townhomes, without that deep commitment from the faith community of Fairfax Presbyterian Church in this case. So I think that there's a role for everyone to play in partnering to create a more inclusive and integrated region.
Barfonce, can you talk a little bit about Homestretch's relationship with faith-based institutions, aside from the incredible relationship we now have with the Fairfax Presbyterian Church? They often have a lot to offer in our struggle to provide affordable housing.
Sure. Well, we have a very special program called the Sacred Homes Project, and Fairfax Presbyterian Church is a member of that project. Sacred Homes, what faith-based and houses of worship do, they take the entire family, not just the head of household or not just the children, or not looking at the apartment's needs, but they take the whole family, and they make financial contributions throughout the year to not only sustain their housing by absorbing the cost of their rent, but also adopting the family at Christmas time and making sure kiddos have, back to school items, and that they're ready alongside their peers when on the first day of school. They make sure mom has all of the trimmings and the needs that she has to satisfy her home as she's moving the family forward. And I have to say that without our Sacred Homes and our faith-based partners, our work would be near impossible. They have come alongside this journey. I can think of two churches in particular that are part of our founding community. So they've been with us all 34 years, giving, financially, but also contributing in ways that have proven to be selfless, and that really puts that faith into action and helps us to understand the greater good within our social economy. And that has been deeply impactful for us.
This is as we've mentioned, this is a quite complex partnership, many players. And Mike, do you want to talk about, we're very proud of our partnership with the Fairfax Presbyterian Church and with Homestrech, but there are other partners that are helping us collectively. Do you want to just go into a little more depth on that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And this project wouldn't be possible without the partnership of Homemade National Capital Region. As I mentioned earlier, they're a nonprofit that works to support the affordable other nonprofits across the region by linking them with the development sector. Real estate development is complicated, and for a project like this in particular, there's a lot of additional work that's more than just pouring a foundation and building townhomes. We are converting a parking lot into a build site for homes, and that will lead to more green space. Well, there's going to be infrastructure work. There's going to, whether it's water and sewer and improving the road system and the circulation on the site. So there's a lot of work involved in what Homemade has been able to do is bring their network with the Northern Virginia Builders Industry Association to link us with Dries Homes. And the land team at Dries Homes is going to be leading on the work of converting that parking lot to a build site. And that includes the infrastructure, that includes a lot of the site and grading work. And so that is really critically important because they bring that experience and that expertise that from all of their work across the region to bear at this project, and they're doing that with discounts and donations from both Dries Homes and their vendors and subcontractors. So the generosity from Homemade and Dries Homes is making this possible, both in terms of their time and expertise, but also in terms of the discounts that we'll be able to receive to make this project possible, because it's not inexpensive to turn a parking lot into a home site.
Speaking of the expense of this project, Barfonce and then Mike, can we talk a little bit about how our donor base and our volunteers are going to be contributing to this project?
Well, sure. I'll start out by just uplifting and highlighting our wonderful donors. Donors, they sustain programming and service delivery in a myriad of ways, not just for this project, but I do want to encompass the community of donors that we have. They provide vital funding for all that we do, and that's from comprehensive case management services, education, the credit counseling, and the literacy. But as it relates to this project in particular, donors will ensure organizational resilience. That's specifically true for Homestrech, because we would be the owners of the 2 units. And we would hope that we're envisioning that the clients from that are graduating from our programming would then step into those 2 units as affordable housing renters. I do want to stress the need for financial contributions, not only to assist families to break cycles of poverty and homelessness, but again, to ensure that we have organizational resilience, to ensure that this work continues and that we can expand opportunities for families for years to come.
It's Giving Tuesday, so I thank you very much for thanking our collective donor base. We share your sentiments, and there are some donors that we especially want to recognize. That let me turn it over to Mike to talk. We talked about the Fairfax Presbyterian Church giving the donation of the land, essentially, for a nominal lease, and the donation of other partners. But we also are looking for donations on a larger scale. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Mike?
Sure. Yeah. This project in particular has a lot of needs, and we mentioned some of the expenses associated with the site cost. We're also, we're working to build. We haven't. I may have mentioned it earlier, but these are working to build permanently affordable homes. So we are building these so that these homes will stand the test of time, that they're going to be affordable in perpetuity. But in order for them to be affordable to the homeowners and the homestretch renters that are going to be living there, they have to be durable. And so you can't have a situation in which these homes are not standing the test of time. So we're focusing on quality construction. These are also going to be larger homes. A huge unmet housing need in the region is for 4-bedroom and above homes for larger families and increasingly multi-generational families. So when you add a lot of these factors together, that creates a higher than average building cost profile. And the housing needs that we, but by we I mean Habitat and Homestretch, work to meet. Affordable housing is underfunded in general, but our mission areas are two of the larger gaps in the home ownerships, or in the affordable housing subsidy system. So, every dollar that we're able to raise as part of this project is critical to making this project a reality. And so we're appreciative of the support, for defraying the costs that we've had from HomeAid, from DREES, from some of our Russ Orling, our architect, that provided pro bono services early in the project to determine feasibility and get through entitlements. We've had a lot of support like that throughout this project. We're also appreciative of the support of the Saveri family through their Phil's House campaign that honors Phil Saveri's legacy, both as a beloved member of his family and his community, but also as a home builder in the region. So these types of fundraising efforts and supports are what makes it possible to offer a high quality product to meet deep affordable housing needs in a very expensive to build area.
One of the things that Habitat is very grateful for is the kind of donor exemplified by Phil's House that attracts donations for a particular home. And we have a number of fundraising opportunities, given that it's Giving Tuesday, where different donors will actually sponsor a house. And we've done that in project after project, but this one, I want to echo Phil's House and the Saveri family has been fantastic in terms of essentially sponsoring a single house in this 10-house development. And we, on this Giving Tuesday, would very much appreciate more donors of some of these houses. We have more to sponsor. So there are many ways to help through individual donations. We all both deal with foundations and corporate giving. And in this project, we will be looking at all those different formats for funding. At this point, do we have a few questions? We can definitely go deeper into the project if you'd like. Maybe what we could do is, Barfonce, do you want to talk a little bit about targeted donations for some of the programming that will be affecting this project? For example, these will be sacred homes essentially, right? Or they will not be in your sacred home project?
Well, they'll be in our portfolio. So then
Yes,
we
yes.
would be targeting members of the faith-based community to adopt the family for it to become a Sacred Homes project. That's certainly viable and feasible for our project. But again, going back to ensuring organizational resilience and reducing operational costs, we would be targeting corporate partners, individuals with appreciated securities, or those with donor advised funds who want to partner with us in a more intimate, deeper way, because those funds will help Homestretch grow its programming, enable adaptability to meet the increasing demand that we see. Again, when client families graduate from our programs, we open up the doors and they go out, and the first thing they see is market rate housing. And so if they have $8,000 to $10,000 saved up, but a 2-bedroom is $2,200, and they are making, living wage or slightly below, how long will it be before they exhaust their savings? That's the question that we ask. And so just ensuring organizational resilience, ensuring that when families are able to leave us, their lives are transformed by the work that we provide, but we want to make sure that our model of success remains for generations. And so if they were to move into one of the 2 units, they certainly would make that dream come true.
Mhm. We have the same situation as Mike was referring to this project, where we're looking for permanent affordability.
That's right.
We've done-
Yeah.
That is, and he was looking at to the fundraising burden.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and it's a scarcity, right?
Mhm.
Is there such a thing as permanent affordability? I'm not so sure. I scratch my head and I argue that jargon, because it's really it is paramount for the families within our programming to leave and to be assured that their housing and their safety are stable, and that they're stable for years to come. They have a beautiful safety net within the Homestretch programming, but our programming is only 2 years. When they leave us, we want to make sure that there is an affordable housing solution that's suitable to meet their needs. So I agree with you 100%.
Both of our organizations do quite a bit on financial literacy. Barfonce, can you start out with just talking a little bit about a deeper dive on what the literacy situation is? Is it one-on-one counseling? Do you offer some courses that people go through? We do all of the above at Habitat, and we work with community partners on financial literacy. But it's very interesting how your program is extremely targeted, family by family. If you could speak a little bit about
right.
that.
Absolutely, sure. And then I'm happy to turn it over to Mike to expound upon the brilliant work that you all are doing. But we have in-house credit counseling. Heather Linsky, who is the director of that program, has been with us, 20 years. And so she knows this work in our families like the back of her hand. She understands not only the complexities and the barriers that individuals come with, but how to overcome those, how to meet the objectives and overcome the barriers. And I will say that financial education, the ability to balance your budget, I think that is the first step in ensuring success for the families. She conducts budget analysis. She conducts case management through financial literacy programming. We do regular life skills training. She does a course with the families a few times a year, and she regularly checks in on them to see how they're saving. Savings, of course, is a requirement at Homestretch. That's why they're able to amount such wealth, if you will, while they're within our program. I mean, to have someone go from debt with 0 savings to go with all of their debt eliminated to $12,000 in the bank is a huge accomplishment for anyone, let alone a homeless family that's moving to stability after just 2 years. And so she takes time throughout those 2 years to really employ and engage with them, not only with financial literacy, but looking at their employment. Whether they are underemployed, what will it take? Do you need a new skill set? What do you need to advance your role in the community so that you can afford market rate housing? And so Heather then works very closely with our workforce development director, Sinelli, and our employment center. Those tend to go hand in hand, but I will say that Heather has done an exemplary job with our credit counseling program, to the point that we've had some of our partners actually reach out to her for assistance because the success that she has amassed over the years is deeply impactful.
One of the big barriers for home ownership is what you're talking about in terms of the debt load that families are carrying. So we have the same situation where families that get into our program really need to work hard to lower their debt, and then we have to work very hard to make sure that the mortgage payments and the interest and taxes and so forth stay affordable. Mike, we're building in an affluent neighborhood where the property taxes and so forth turn out to be a problem sometimes. We've built in neighborhoods where everything was fine for a few years, and then families started becoming aware that their homes were appreciating, and so was the government. And so their property taxes went up. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about how we're going to deal with that with this project?
Sure. So we are lucky to be operating in a context, in a policy context, in which the property taxation is based on the income restricted value of the home. So I mentioned earlier, this is a permanently affordable home ownership opportunity. And Barfonce, you mentioned that, that doesn't, to be called permanently affordable doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot of work that goes into it, both on the upfront and for maintaining that over time. But what we're trying to do is create that platform for permanent affordability. So what we see across the region with how high the market, how rapidly market rate housing costs are increasing, inclusive of property taxes, but also when you take into account just purchase prices, given how hot the market is, and interest rates. We are really focused on making sure that when we go and we build a home, that how can we ensure that we are able to achieve the goal of providing that economic mobility, that continue that trajectory of wealth creation that we've been talking about throughout this conversation, while making sure that, in 5-10 years, that home isn't lost from the affordable stock if someone chooses to move. How do we make sure that there is that entry-level home ownership market we're doing our part to making sure that market's being served. And so we're doing that in the context of this project through a shared equity structure, and that allows the homeowner to build wealth while maintaining that permanent affordability should they choose to move. And that's operationalized through that ground lease that we've referenced a few times with the church. And to recap quickly, and I'll try not to use too much jargon, but it's hard to talk about this without getting into just a little bit of it. But the church is going to lease the land. The homeowners are going to own the improvements sitting atop that land via the ground lease structure. And that ground lease will also establish a formula to calculate the sales price should they ever choose to move. That formula is based on the initial purchase price plus compensation for any capital improvements they may have made to the property, and then an adjustment for inflation. So it allows the home value to appreciate somewhat, allows for some wealth creation while still being affordable to the next low income purchaser and continuing to serve that entry-level rung. And so the easiest way I like to describe this is that it builds wealth, but doesn't allow for a windfall. So, and that's what we're looking to achieve. And with the property tax issue, because it is permanently resale restricted and there is that set value, the property taxes should be calculated based on that affordable purchase price, not what that home would otherwise be valued at if there were no affordability restrictions. So in theory, once it's all operationalized, that should make sure that that home will stay affordable, both from an initial purchase price perspective, but from an ongoing cost of maintaining home ownership perspective.
As we come to a close here, I just want to remind everyone that it is Giving Tuesday, and we're very eager for our listeners to be aware that there are many ways to be engaged with both organizations and this project. So, Barfonce, do you want to close with just a few comments about how people can be engaged with your organization as we go through this project and generally?
Sure. Well, first, thank you again for the opportunity just to join you all today for this dynamic discussion. I really appreciate that. I think the easiest way for partners and stakeholders in the community to engage is just what we're doing here on social media. If you could just like or share, go to our website, go to our social pages, subscribe or click, forward, share, whatever you can do, spreading the word on this great work that Homestrech and Habitat are doing in the region is phenomenal. That's the first thing I would think. Please go to our respective websites. If you go to the left panel of your screen, you'll see all you have to do is click, either donate or just use our website links. I know Liz has also been putting in links in the chat field. Thank you so much for doing that, Liz. I also think that there are a myriad of volunteer opportunities at Homestrech and Habitat, I'm sure. And then, of course, no gift is too small. Your financial giving of any amount would be deeply appreciated. www.homestrechva.org is how you can reach us directly. Thank you.
And again, thank you so much for calling people's attention to the left-hand side of the screen, where you can also click on the Habitat DC Nova website. And it's this, you just Google Habitat DC Nova .org, and you should be able to get there. And we as well have a donation page, and as you do, success stories and profiles and so forth to inspire engagement. There are quite a few other ways. Mike, do you want to just talk about the fact that we will have volunteer opportunities on the site, and we will have other opportunities for people to be engaged?
Right, exactly. And once we get to the finished lot, so to speak, to start building the homes, we will be doing volunteer build days in the typical Habitat volunteer construction model. So we're looking forward to having people on site. We encourage people to support the project in any way that they can, however large or small. And for some people, that may be a donation to sponsor a home, and that permanently affordable homes. If you're a permanent, that sponsorship will leave a lasting legacy. For others, it may be a small donation, and every little bit helps. Even if it's, I don't want to say just, but if it's coming to the build site on one of our volunteer days and swinging a hammer, that's incredibly beneficial to the project as well. But one thing to echo what Barfonce said, please do spread the word if you feel compelled. If you find this project interesting, or you want to support the causes we've discussed today, the more people that find about this work, the more good work we're going to be able to do.
We just want to close by thanking Barfonce and Mike. You both have had fantastic insights into this innovative project and into the whole undertaking of building and sustaining affordable housing. And I really enjoyed learning more about Homestrech, and I hope the audience enjoyed hearing more about both our organizations. And we have much in common, and we're just really looking forward to partnering with you on this project.
Absolutely.
And more to come. So on that, I'd like to close, unless we have some questions. I'm turning over to our producer here. And again, just thank you both so much.
Thank you. Thank
Happy
you for
Giving
having me.
Thank
Tuesday.
you.
Thank you.